Hello everyone, in this lab I'm gonna show you how we redesign the network we previously created in lab 4, and also we are gonna expand our network that we built previously. So I'm gonna show you the topology. Actually the plan is to add 4 more VLANs. Previously we had only VLAN uh, 10, 20, 30 and 40. Now we're gonna add 4 more VLANs, uh, VLAN 40, 50, uh, VLAN 50, 60, 70 and 80. So initially we had VLAN 10, 20, 30, 40. Now we are gonna add 4 more VLANs. So we will be adding 2 more access switches in each location for to allocate these to VLANs in each branch office, and then we are also gonna add another access switch to the head office network because we are going to actually migrate the DHCP server from the router to a dedicated server just for the DHCP DNS, and we will be adding one more HTTP server, which should be accessible by all the clients in both branch offices. And actually this redesigning of the network needs some configuration changes on both branch offices and also the head office, and also we have to advertise the new routes into the OSPF so that we will have connectivity to the DHCP, and this DHCP is also responsible for distributing the IP addresses to the clients in both locations for the new VLANs. So I have built the topology in EventG, and I'm just gonna turn on my, so this one just to turn it off. I'm just gonna turn on my devices and do the configurations. As you can see, we have added 2 more VLANs, VLAN 50, VLAN 60, 70, 80, and we have added another switch in each location, switch to Montreal, switch to Toronto, and we have 2 DHCP and DNS server and HTTP. Of course, I have configured the DHCP DNS and HTTP servers because in this lab I'm not going to the details of how we configure the DHCP, but right now we have removed the DHCP from the Ottawa and we have just DHCP on the dedicated server. I'm gonna show you shortly how the DHCP is configured. So first of all, we start with the access switches and we do the appropriate configurations on the access switches because we have to put the correct ports on their VLANs. So I'm just gonna turn on my switches. And routers, and I will do the configuration. Also, I'm gonna turn on my DHCP, my new location. Okay, I connect. So these two are configured previously in the previous lab. So just we have to configure the new switches for both locations, Montreal and Toronto. And of course, when we are adding the new VLANs and subnets, let's take a look at the IP scheme that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use the same IP schema that I was using for VLAN 10 and 20. Just I'm using the other networks. Like for VLAN 10, I was using 172.17.1.1, For VLAN 21.17. Now for VLAN 50, I'm using 1.33. For VLAN 61.49. And of course, the first IP in this range, I will assign it to the sub-interfaces. So for VLAN 70 and 80, again, I'm using this subnet. These are the network IDs that I will be using. And of course, like 162 would be this first IP address. And actually, this is the IP address of this sub-interface, and the block of IP address is 160. Here is 176. So the same is true for VLAN. If I go up for VLAN 50 and 60, again the same thing. 33 is the first, this IP address I have assigned to VLAN 50. If I go here, you can see that I'm gonna show you here. So for VLAN 50 is 33. I've assigned to this sub-interface. VLAN 60, 49. Excuse me. And the same is true for VLAN 70 and 80. So if I go here, look at this diagram. So for 70, 161 and 1. So you have to decide on the IP addresses before actually start configuring these routers and switches, because they're very important. They are the default gateways of the endpoints. Okay, so I'm going to the first I studied Montreal switch. Show IP interface brief. As you can see, show run int gig 01. So as you can see, it's not assigned to any VLAN. So T int gig 01 switch port mode access and switch port access VLAN 7 VLAN 50. I'm gonna do the same for 02 and switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN access VLAN 60. So 01, now it is 50, 02 is 60. I save my configurations. The same for Toronto location. So here 70 and 80. Zero one. So int gig 01 switch port mode access and switch port access VLAN 70, and I will do the same for 02 switch port mode access and switch port access VLAN 80. Also, I have to make this interface which is going to the router as a trunk port. So I go to int gig 00 switch port trunk encapsulation .1q and switch port mode trunk. Also, I forgot on the Montreal, we have to also change it to the int gig 00 switch port trunk encapsulation .1q and switch port mode trunk. Okay, now on the router on each location, which is the default gateway of the endpoints, I also have to create these sub interfaces with their IP addresses. So these two IP addresses are for this interface actually. So I go to the Montreal location. So as you can see, we have 00.10 for VLAN 10 and 20, but we don't have for VLAN 50 and 60. So I have to create it. Int Ethernet 01.50 encapsulation.1q50 and the IP address is 172.17.1, so 33, and the subnet mask 255.255.240. I will do the same for 60 encapsulation.1q60 and the IP address 172.17.1.49. And also int Ethernet 01 no shut. So show IP int ref, and I can see that those two interfaces now they have the IP address and they are up. Also, I need to add these two networks to my OSPF because these two networks need to communicate with the DHCP server. So I have to advertise them to the rest of the network. If I go to show run and section OS, right now I can see that the network for this is 172.17.1.32. The network ID is 32. I can see it is not advertised in the OSPF. So I go to router OS1 and I add the network 172.17.1.32 and the subnet mask is 15, which is in area 0. I also have to add this network because I have put the first IP on the sub interface, but the network ID is 48. So 48 area 0. Also, I need to add the IP helper address. As you can see, if I show you about these interfaces, I have the IP helper address. So I show run int gig 00.10 for VLAN 10. So IP helper address is set on these ones, on these interfaces for VLAN 10 and 20, but let's check if they are added for VLAN 50 and 60. 01. As you can see, there is no IP helper address, so int Ethernet 01.50 IP helper address 172.31.1.100. I have to do the same for VLAN 60 and I write my configuration. So I have to do the same for the router in Toronto location. So I can see that 70 and 80 are not created. So int internet 01.70 encapsulation that 1q70 and the IP address 172.17.1.161.255.255.255.240, and I will do the same for 80 encapsulation 80 and the IP address 177. I'll go to the interface itself and no shutdown. Also, I have to add the IP helper address int Ethernet 0.70.01. So I can see there is no IP helper address. Conf t int Ethernet 01.70 IP helper address and the IP of our DHCP server, this one. 172.31.1.100. I have to do the same for 80. Also, if I look at the OSPF process, I can see that these two networks, which is 160 and this one is 176, they are not advertised in the network, so in OSPF. So I go to IP router OS1 and I add the network 172.17.1.160 and the wildcard mask of 15 in area 0 and 176. Okay, so far the configuration into these branch offices are done. Also, let's take a look at the auto allocation. So you can see that we don't have loopback 99. I have removed that loopback, and also section DHCP, there is no DHCP configuration on it, so I have moved the DHCP server here. I have also one HTTP server with a default website, which these clients should be able to access it. So let's log into our DHCP server, which I have created previously. Okay, let's just stop and start it again. And then I will turn on my clients and I will just check if they are getting the IP address, especially the new locations for VLAN 50, 60, 70 and 80. I will verify if I can get the IP address from the DHCP server and also if I can access the web page on this web server. So I'm just gonna log in. and I will show you the DHCP server configuration. Of course, when I turn on these clients, they should get the IP address automatically by the DHCP server. So it seems that it's stuck in here. So let's see. Just gonna reconnect to it. Okay, it seems that it is frozen. So I'm just gonna turn it off, turn it back on. Also, let's log into the HTTP. Let's while I'm waiting for the DHCP to boot up, I'm just gonna also, this is a web server that I have set up. So okay, in this web server, actually there is a default website. If we go to this IP address, I will see, let me just, I think there is, I have to turn off the DHCP one more time. So on the HTTP server, if I go to the default, there is a like default website on this IP address. So 172.101. So welcome to CNET 301. This is like the default website I have created so on this HTTP server, and it should be accessible by all the clients on the other branch offices. So let's go to the DHCP again. Okay, so the DHCP is up now. Okay, I'm gonna show you the DHCP configuration, and also from the DHCP server, even without logging to the clients, I should see that these clients are getting the IP address or not. So the DHCP service is running and also is configured to give the IP address to because I'm not going through the configuration. I have done the configuration before, so I'm just gonna show you how the DHCP is configured for different VLANs that we have. So this is my DHCP server, and here in the IPv4 I have some scopes, as you can VLAN 10, 20, 50, 60, 30, 40, 70, and 80. Let's verify for VLAN 50 and 60. So if I go to VLAN 50, this is my scope, and if I go, as you can see, address lists on VLAN 50, this system is obtaining the IP address. If I go to VLAN 60, address lists, let's refresh. Okay, VLAN 60 is still I cannot see. So let's go and see what's going on with this. Yeah, so you can see that it is not initialized. So I just have to turn this stop and start it. Let's verify 17 and 80 on the DHCP server. And then I will also connect to the web client. So I go to the DHCP 70. Let's refresh. No, sorry, this is 40, not 70. So on the 70, yeah, I can see that I have the IP address. I will go to the stations and verify. And if I go to 80, in this scope address lists, also I can see. Let's go to 80 and verify. I think 60 should be up by now. Refresh. Yeah, VLAN 60 again. I have the IP address. If I go to let's go to the 80 and let's verify the IP address with what we have, what we saw on the DHCP server. So on the DHCP server for 80, it is showing 178. Now let's check and verify. I go to the Ethernet. If I go to network details, and as you can see 178, this is the IP address that it got from the DHCP server 172.31.1.100 with this DNS server. Also, I should be able to see the web page Of course, to see the web page, first of all, I have to turn the security feature off because these are all Windows Server families, and I have to go to the local server and the security configuration for IE. I turn this off. It's okay. Okay, now it's off. To turn this off. Okay. And what I will do, I will open a web page and I will go to the address 172.31.1.101, and you can see I can access also the web page from VLAN 80 because the DNS server, the DHCP, the HTTP server is set up, so I can access it from all my clients. So in this lab, we saw that we expanded our networks to 4 more VLANs, 2 access switches, and we have also migrated the DHCP from the router to the dedicated server and HTTP server. And we could get the IP address from the clients in those in these 2 branch offices, and also access the HTTP. And that concludes this lab. I hope it's been useful. Thank you very much.